What is going on, KliqPod family? This is me, Dean from the Outsiders Podcast, newly named the Kliq Podcast or KliqPod at Podomatic.com, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, we're everywhere. And today's A through Z pay-per-view review stops at Armageddon 2005. The next WWE pay-per-view. As mentioned on my 041, this is going to be all Armageddon for the rest of the A's. And then we get into the B's. Bash at the Beach, WCW Bad Blood, WWE got Breakdown or Backlash 99 from WWE. Shows The Rock and Stone Cold having their rematch from WrestleMania 15. It is going to be off the hook. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this one, WWE Armageddon 2005. For those of you who fetishize Armageddon or fetishize 2005, the year for WWE, the Ruthless Aggression year, it wasn't that great. And I'll get into that. The first match, JBL versus Matt Hardy. Already, you can tell that I've proven my point, right? JBL, I don't know if you remember, he rolled with this valet called Jillian Hall. She had this nasty, growth on the right side of her face, or I believe it was the left side. It was pretty funny. And somebody ate it, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Boogeyman ate it at some point. Not in Armageddon, but at some point, the Boogeyman ate it off her face. It was clearly prop makeup. I don't know why they did it or why they felt they had to do it. That's WWE. That's Vince McMahon fighting Jesus and Shawn Michaels. Does that make sense? Pretty violent, though, to begin with, to be honest with you. I mean, both Bradshaw and Matt Hardy throw potatoes, basically, in every match. Lots of boots to the head, lots of attacking Hardy while his neck was tied up in the ropes, and it was pretty violent. But ultimately, it wasn't the greatest match of all time. JBL did throw a little Stone Cold in there, and after hitting the clothesline from hell, just flipped off all the fans. It was pretty cool, and then pinned and won. Not sure what the buildup was for this. That is a strange pairing, but if I have to go back and watch it on SmackDown, I will. Match number 2, Eminem, or Mercury and Nitro, versus the Mexicools, Super Crazy and Psychosis. Now, the Mexicools are a product of the LWO, the Latino World Order from WCW, and the Mexicools are far more racist in terms of coming in on lawnmowers and things like that. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. I understand why they did it, but when you look back at it, it's like, God damn, really? You had the balls to have these Mexican guys come out on lawnmowers? All right. Well, I mean, they're the ones who could easily just say no, I suppose. One of my first notes is that the Mexicools were the worst stable ever. They might as well have just brought back LWO, if anything. Cole was talking about them like they were foreigners, which was really, really funny. He said at one point, it was one of those what do you mean you people scenarios? It was something just like that. It was like, them Mexicools can really wrestle. It was something really fucked up. But, the other part to this, not to put all the pressure on the Mexicools, but I'm really glad they didn't push Eminem back then. At one point, it looked like Nitro and Melina and Mercury were going to be pushed to LOD status by WWE. I'm really glad they didn't, because they just were not that great of a tag team. I thought they were decent. They were in the hunt. They're always going to be in the hunt, but they were not like Edge and Christian level, which is not super high when you consider other tag teams like LOD and the Dudleys, which I think are best all time, Public Enemy and all these other great tag teams, the Steiners, Harlem Heat. Eminem doesn't fit up there with them. But in this case, in this match, Eminem did get the win, and we're moving on. Now the next match. This is a very interesting one. There's a huge build-up to this. This is a best of 7 Booker T versus Chris Benoit. Now, this is heel Booker T. It's starting to get closer to King Booker. And at one point in his interview ahead of the match, he said, I'm going to beat Chris Benoit like I'm his daddy, which was great. But this was match 4 of the best of 7. It started off, I believe, with Survivor Series, and they fought on every SmackDown since. Now, the idea of having the same match over and over and over again sounds rough. And in this case, it sort of was. To be honest, honestly, on paper, I'm thinking, God damn, it's going to be an amazing best of 7. Not going to be Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit best of 7, but it'll definitely hold up. I was really hyped up about the match and coming in expecting probably best match of the night. But man, did it start really slow. And this match was almost a 50-minute match. This is a very, very long match. Well, it was more like 45 minutes. One of the things I noticed in this match, and I think is noteworthy, is if you forgot what a Benoit chest chop sounds like, go watch this. Go watch him chop out Booker T. Because Book took him, but goddamn, they sounded bad. They're vicious. I think they're worse than Rick's. Benoit does the 3 amigos, which is the 3 suplexes in a row, tribute to Eddie Guerrero. And after 20 to 25 minutes, the match started to pick up a little bit, which was insane. And I don't know if it was one of those pace yourself things, you got time. But man, it was like, okay, like, should I fast forward this? Should I, just skip it altogether and make up the review? I don't do that, by the way, but sometimes it comes across my mind that that's something I want to do because it's just garbage. And I think what really pissed me off was that I'm thinking, yes, this is going to be an awesome match, and it turned out to be a garbage match. So it started to pick up a little bit, but I don't really have anything else to add other than Charmel interfering a lot, which was her role at the time as Booker T was a heel. And she had a broom. She was talking about not only sweeping, but calling people witches and all this stuff anyway. It was really stupid. And then Benoit was intimidating her, which was sort of uncomfortable. Kind of. But man, Benoit got that win. He was down 3-0. And if Booker would have won this match, he would have won the whole series. But Benoit ended up winning the match. So 3-1, and they move into SmackDown for the remainder of their best of 7. And naturally, Teddy Long comes out, playa, holla back, with a guy, though. And this guy's name is Palmer Cannon. Apparently, he was some network guy. And I've seen people do this before, like on WWE or WCW, and say this is a guy from the network, or even TNA, if I'm not mistaken. He basically was just an ass. Teddy was trying to talk, and he took the mic, and he asked Santa Claus to come out, and it was Vito with Nunzio as an elf. Really fucking stupid. And then the Boogeyman showed up. And I'm telling you right now that if I just want you guys all, even if you don't watch the whole pay-per-view, I want you to go back and watch the fans' reactions during this segment. If I'm not mistaken, it's like an hour and 20 minutes in. There's no fan reaction whatsoever. And there's barely even any talking either. It's like you can almost hear them talk without a mic. It's that bad. Match number 4, man from Colorado, my man, Bobby Lashley. This is early Bobby Lashley starting out in WWE versus William Regal and Paul Burchill. Paul Burchill. I love that shit. And what's really weird, it's like Teddy Long hated William Regal. He must have. Because William Regal, if I'm not mistaken, and I meant to go back and count, William Regal must have had 7 or 8 different tag team partners in each Armageddon. Not 7 or 8 in each because he only fought one match, right? But 7 or 8 across the entire Armageddon pay-per-view landscape. He had so many different ones. This one's no exception. Paul Burchill. And Bobby Lashley is a winner. And would you expect it any other way? This is early Bobby Lashley. This is jacked Bobby Lashley. This is post-Apollo Crews Bobby Lashley. And by that I mean Apollo Crews is like basically the bitch version of Bobby Lashley. I love you, Apollo. I do. But you're no Bobby Lashley. In fact, we're supposed to have an interview with Bobby Lashley at some point. I don't know what happened to that. Let me get with my man JG and see what he says. Would you know it? After the Bobby Lashley match, guess what comes up? Poor Timmy White trying to commit suicide on live television several different ways. And this was, I believe, the start of it, where Josh Matthews is doing a stupid, bubbly kid interview, and Timothy White barely says anything except for the Hell in a Cell ruined his life, and went and shot himself. And that's it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was funny, like, at first, because I remembered it, but it was only funny because I remembered it. It wasn't funny because it was actually funny. Match number 5, Juventud Guerrero of the Mexicools versus Kid Cash, Cruiserweight title. You know what sucks? Kid Cash, and I believe I reviewed this for Anarchy Rules in WCW. It was the last Anarchy Rules, 2000. Kid Cash was so good in 2000 in ECW. And all of a sudden, he comes to WWE, and they water you the fuck down. Even in 2005, they water you down. He was just kind of like a bruiser, but really, I remember seeing Kid Cash fly, and I'm like, damn, this dude's good. That's it. Like, there's nothing else to add to that. It just kind of sucks. Michael Cole referenced Velocity, the old Saturday night program. I actually YouTubed it after that and watched Matt Hardy versus somebody. It was some joke guy, but it was a Velocity. It was just they filmed it after SmackDown turned everything green. It was kind of cool, I suppose. I don't know why they had it, but they also didn't play off the main event or anything like that. Superstars or something like that they have now. And there were a couple cool moves in there, but it was pretty much as expected in this match. It was funny to see, and as I had mentioned, that WWE in 2005 still breaks great wrestlers like Kid Cash, or even Juventud, who was really good in WCW. Match number 6, Batista and Rey Mysterio versus Kane and The Big Show. Now, at this time, Batista was the world champion and the tag team champion, and Kane and Show were on a match by themselves. Now, my only note, well, I'd say there's two notes, but my only note in this was it was a match. Nothing great, nothing bad. It was just a basic match. Ray looks up like this was funny. I don't know if it was a part of his costume, but I only noticed it at the end. When Ray looked up, it looked like he had like a powdered donut on his lips or something. It was very funny, and it sparked some immaturity in me, but that was about it. No titles on the line in this one. Kane show win. Match number 7, the last match. This is Taker versus Orton in Hell in a Cell. Now, this rivalry was a great rivalry, and one thing I miss so much that I thought was so fire back then was Randy Orton's RKO shirt that looked like NWO. It was so good. That's when he was a legend killer. And we look at it now and say this is a hands-down Hall of Famer. But when I think about it, I'm like, no, the Legend Killer was amazing too. And this was no exception. Taker versus Orton, it was really good. Hell in the Cell. This may have been the last time I remember Taker looking the way he looked. He was looked like the best shape of his life at that time. You know, and a couple unprotected chair shots, a lot of blood. All of a sudden, Taker's starting to get pretty brutal, rubbing his bloody face in the fence. Hitting him with more chair shots, choking Randy Orton with a chain, running his face into the cage. It just started to get fairly brutal, and then eventually Randy Orton started kind of holding his own again. Randy Orton started choking Taker with chain, but he had his feet on the ropes and his chain and hands through the ropes as well, so he was pulling and using his body leverage. That was pretty insane. Winner, naturally, who's it going to be? Undertaker, and the Legend Killer's dead at that point. Well, I want to thank you, everybody, for listening to Mean Dean's A through Z pay-per-view review. Listen for tomorrow for Armageddon 2006. Again, we are on iTunes, Podomatic, YouTube. We're everywhere. Facebook, Twitter. Always check us out at KliqPod. Go search that KliqPod fan. Be a part of the KliqPod fan. And April 8th, noon, Mountain Standard Time, me and JG will be live for WrestleMania pre-show. So check that out. Look out for the promo on YouTube, and we will see you later.